Report the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure you check out blackfoxnews.com/shop. Get yourself some gear, some paraphernalia, you know what I mean? Stuff with our logo on it. Represent, be the voice for the people, for your community too. Raise the consciousness level of those around you and in yourself when you look in the mirror and see that spiffy shit you got on. And we got stuff that'll match everything in your wardrobe. So make sure you check that out. Support us as we continue to support y'all. 200,000 new coronavirus infections yesterday, daily record throughout the United States as far as like a total of new infections. 1,500 deaths just Monday alone, capping off the deadliest week of COVID-19 since the pandemic began. This past week, these past 7 days has caused 16,000 deaths due to COVID-19. So obviously numbers are rising and people are definitely reacting to it. So you have Dr. Anthony Fauci, you know, remember he was the top infectious disease leader, you know, him being the director of the National Institute of Health and Human Services. He actually was speaking and saying that basically, like, you know, we have some dark days ahead of us in, you know, December and January, and that the best thing we could do is actually have public health measures. But keep in mind, like, these numbers are going kind of crazy. You have hospitalizations at a record high, 102,000 with COVID-19 patients. ICU beds all around the country filling up to capacity, hospitals filling up to capacity, where you even have the governor of New Mexico saying that the medical people there are going to have to start rationing care. Green War and Graduation. Report out of the world, though, the Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So you have executives from the top drug companies, Pfizer and Moderna. I mean, they're top as far as leading in the push for vaccine trials, right? And they're just huge companies in general. Nevertheless, that these executives actually declined the invitation to the White House today for what Trump was calling a vaccine summit. Basically, it looked like an attempt by Trump to put pressure on the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, to actually fast track emergency approve some of these COVID-19 vaccines. Now, keep in mind that the FDA is currently surveilling data of the Pfizer clinical trials for the COVID-19 vaccine, and they could actually approve of emergency use as early as the end of next week. Also, it came out that the Trump administration actually rejected an offer by Pfizer to actually lock in coronavirus vaccines supply, whereas it allowed for other countries to get in line and have basically first dibs on Pfizer's limited initial supply of COVID-19 vaccines. Countries like the United Kingdom and Bahrain, who actually, the UK, they actually rolling out their whole vaccine trial this week or whatever. So we'll see how this all turns out. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over in the UK, the United Kingdom, they actually have began administering their first doses of Pfizer's vaccine. And actually, the first in line was Margaret Keenan. This was a 90-year-old grandmother who, was basically saying, she was happy to have done it. Hopefully other people will follow. So, we could beat this terrible thing. She looking at it like we have to do our part as a state, a nationwide and a global community to actually defeat COVID-19, and probably is under the belief that if we all get vaccines, then we'll beat it or whatever. So, she's 90 years old. We'll see how that turns out. Margaret Keenan, that'll be an interesting person to follow, but she is pretty old. But it all rolled out into the elderly at first in the UK. Now, over here in the US, you have the Wall Street Journal that actually reported that Pfizer is planning on actually administering half as many doses throughout 2020 as they had initially planned. And then you have the medical news site Stat that's actually saying healthcare workers in the U.S. have actually said that they think that the Trump administration's pledge to vaccinate 20 million Americans this month is unrealistic. Green War and Graduation. Report out of the New World, though, the Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So Senate Homeland Security Committee Chair Ron Johnson is actually brought on. He's actually the Republican senator for Wisconsin. He actually invited members of this this weird medical association. Remember that association that actually went viral when they had made this public service announcement, basically trying to pump up hydroxychloroquine and these cocktails that actually are going to combat coronavirus, and that they're like actually cures, and that the COVID-19 ain't nothing to worry about, whatever. Well, he invited a couple people from this association to actually testify about coronavirus disease today. One of them being Dr. Jane M. Orient, who anti-vaxxer or whatever. And I ain't mad at the anti-vaxxers, but this is also somebody that was pumping up hydroxychloroquine usage, something that actually boosts up your heart rhythm and is not and has shown to basically not be able to combat COVID-19. At best, it was anecdotal. Then you also had Dr. Ramin Oskui, another person that was invited to testify, who actually is somebody who falsely said that social distancing and mask wearing does not work in combating COVID-19. So we'll see how that turns out. Green War and Graduation. Report out in the world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. Make sure you check out blackfilesnews.com/LPAI. LPAI. That is an acronym for Let's Post About It. It is actually our own social media platform and forum, and it allows us to build on some complicated subjects while being able to share information in a unique way that you don't really see on other social media platforms. You can share code, you can share documents, you can embed your own YouTube videos and actually watch them within the actual social media site, unlike on these other platforms. And it's not as much censorship. We can actually get to some real nitty-gritty truths. We could talk about the truth about 9/11 without your shit being flagged as some fake news or whatever falsely. Let's be real, you know what I'm saying? But for the record, most of the time the fact checkers be on point or whatever, but they missed the mark with that one. But nevertheless, blackfilesnews.com/LPAI is where you don't have to worry about that shit. Make sure you create a profile, whatever, and there are other incentives on the way. Now, right now, Congress is poised to pass a spending bill in order to avoid a government shutdown. So we'll see how that turns out. The Senate proposed a $908 billion coronavirus relief package, which is far short from the $3 trillion relief package that was proposed by the House of Representatives back in May. And remember, they took this hiatus from even dealing with it in order to fucking worry about a bunch of other bullshit, including passing getting Judge Amy Coney Barrett into the Supreme Court. You know what I'm saying? But like, meanwhile, there's a bunch of Americans out here starving without having jobs, and they ain't even got any money to really put food on the table or whatever. So it's like, it's real effed up situation. But nevertheless, Vermont Senator and former presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, you know what I'm saying, the only progressive that was actually in the motherfucker, actually said that he was warning people not to actually vote for or accept that relief package because it shields corporations from liability if they expose their workers to COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Washington Post is actually warning that millions of Americans who actually lost their jobs due to the pandemic are going to owe on average of $5,800 in back rent and utilities by January. As like you have a bunch of companies or people like homeowners or whatever, mortgages, there's gonna be like $70 billion owed in mortgages or whatever on December 31st, once the federal moratorium or on evictions expires, basically. So if moratorium being like, they basically just put a pause on people being able to be evicted or whatever. That's gonna be done once the ball drops. So right now, we have some real awful times ahead of us financially. Out of the world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So it's looking like Joe Biden is actually poised to pick who might be the first African American to head the Pentagon and be the Secretary of Defense. Retired General Lloyd Austin, who actually was the head of U.S. Central Command and oversaw military operations in Iraq and Syria. He retired in 2016 just to join and ended up joining the board of Raytheon, the defense company known for, creating missiles and all sorts of like aerospace technology or whatever. It was their missiles that actually struck Syria a few years ago at the order of Donald Trump due to some chemical weapons attacks that were alleged to have happened that actually were proven to not have happened at all, by the way. And Trump is also known to have at least a little bit of stock in it, just to give y'all some context. But back to General Austin, who's also a partner in Pine Island Capital Partners, a venture capital fund for military-based companies that and also, this is somebody that will actually have to get a legal waiver to even from Congress to even do the position in order to preserve the civilian control over the military. Now, this is looked at as a win for anti-war protesters due to the fact that everyone was fearing somebody else who was being considered for the position, Michelle Flournoy, who actually is known to be in support of other wars in Iraq and other countries. Now, while this, anti-war activists may see it as a win, but honestly, I can't stand the open revolving door that seems to be present between the defense military industry and the military. Honestly, there's just a grave conflict of interest that I feel like it's just being dumbed down once they do it year after year after year. You can only expect more corruption. How are you gonna have somebody that works in making the weapons that and then turn around and have them actually ordering these same weapons to be deployed? You could actually just be making money off of war, and if you're not making it directly, you and your homies is making it. Your homies is making the money, and then, you know what I'm saying, they gonna break you off at some point. So that just don't sit well with me, and it never will. But that's what's going down. Even though it's a black man, you know what I'm saying, it don't matter. You listen, black people, it don't mean nothing if we just climb the ranks just to get into positions that's gonna further fuck us over in the end. You know what I mean? Green Wall and graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So Trump has, according to CNN, called the Pennsylvania House of Representatives speaker, or the Speaker of the House for PA, 3 times in the past week, trying to get them to actually overturn the election results. Basically trying to get this is at least the 3rd state where he's actually done this, where he's calling them, trying to get them to get a whole new electoral college slate to go in there and formally pick the next president, basically. So, if for those who don't know, within the state, you submit your votes for the president, who you choose to be in the executive branch, and when you do that, it's then the electors that have to formally take those results and then say, all right, this is what my state chooses. Now, the electors that are chosen at these state conventions and all of that, they also have the power to just go against the will of the people and be this funny business going on, or for whatever patriotic reason they may have, and do so. Obviously, it opens the door for corruption, and that's being exploited here. We will see how this shit turns out, y'all. Green Wall and graduation. Oh yeah, and today is the so-called safe harbor deadline for states to basically certify their election results. So yeah, it's looking like all the states going to certify, and it's still going to be Trump winning. But we'll see how it turns out. Green Wall graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Make sure you check out blackfoxnews.com/opportunities, man. If you actually support the channel or whatever, and you got a small business, or even if you a large corporation, you can actually tap into our market, our fan base. We're talking about loyal, intelligent buyers. You can actually get in one of our advertising programs via our BFN Rap programs, or actually in using one of our social media platforms, have your stuff promoted. Support us as we continue to support y'all as we build this, basically recycle our own money, you know what I'm saying, within our community. So but moving on to the news though, over in Georgia, they have actually recertified Joe Biden's election win within that state after a recount that was demanded by the Trump by the Trump campaign. Now, in Georgia's, so that was done by the Secretary of State, but Georgia's voting implementation manager went off on the Trump administration and the campaign for basically spreading these selectively edited false falsified videos basically that implied that there was election rigging going on. He was like, you know, the frustrating thing is like they saw the same videos that we saw, so you know it's clear that they chose to mislead the people about what was going on with the counting of the votes in the election and all of that. Green War and graduation. Order of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. And you know you doing bad at your job if you got over 1,000 motherfuckers trying to like really get you up out of there in a profession that is already known for doing bad jobs. What am I talking about? So nearly 1,500 lawyers actually signed on to this open letter that was sent to the American Bar Association condemning the practices of Rudy Giuliani, President Trump's personal lawyer, former mayor of New York City, the guy who introduced stop and frisk. So you know he got some racist bones in his body and has already shown himself to be a pathological liar. But this letter condemns him and Trump's campaign lawyers for subverting democracy and saying that they could actually be disbarred for not upholding their oath to the U.S. Constitution. And in the letter, it even says, like, the license to practice law is not a license to lie. And it's been pretty apparent that they've been, like, blatantly lying about things and having to do with this election, and even coming up with these lawsuits that they're bringing to court about the election results. Now, mind you, Rudy Giuliani, he's hospitalized right now with COVID-19, coronavirus disease 2019, SARS-CoV-2, that Rona. And don't forget to check BFN World Broadcast number 17. We got that's our, you know, with our broadcast, you know, we rapping about the news. We actually break down the origins of Rona, but we actually have the mix that actually video mix that shows the video that we got from DJ Marquise, you know what I'm saying? So make sure y'all check that out at the news channel. But nevertheless, you know, Rudy Giuliani is actually hospitalized with COVID-19. Mind you, dude ain't been wearing no mask, and he been out here, you know, running reckless just like everybody that's been close to Trump in the Republican side of the White House or whatever. But mind you, the House of Representatives for Michigan as well as Arizona's entire Congress has actually had to suspend work after being in close contact with Giuliani and his team. Green War and graduation. Order of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report, man. Shit heating up, especially over there in Michigan, man. What's up with y'all right-wing motherfuckers in Michigan? Yo, so you have on CNN the Secretary of State for Michigan, Jocelyn Benson, that was on there talking about how there were armed Republicans or Trump supporters basically outside of her home in Michigan while she was actually putting up Christmas decorations with her son, and they were making loud and threatening comments to her, basically trying to get her to talking about she needs to overturn the election results, talking about stop the steal, which is a quote that's you know, that's echoes what Trump has actually been putting out into the world, like his type of rhetoric or whatever. And keep in mind, this is the same state that just a couple months ago the FBI had to arrest over a dozen people, far-right militia group members, for plotting to kidnap the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. So y'all better stay safe out there. Green War and graduation. Order of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report, man. Make sure you support the movement at blackfoxnews.com/shop. You can find the link in the Instagram bio or type in that URL. You can get yourself some, you know what I mean, definitely some like hoodies like this. You know, you see me in an Iceberg Black Fox News hoodie. You know what I'm saying? White after Labor Day, don't give a fuck. Still icy, you know what I mean? Icy like. But we also got different colors and sizes too, you know what I'm saying? So you can mix and match, do some fly shit. And we also got other items as well. Mugs, tote bags, flip-flops, etc., etc. So, you know what I mean, definitely support us as we continue to support y'all. Now, on to the news. Over in Florida, you actually had the police raid the home of data scientist Rebecca Jones. Now, this woman, this white blonde-haired chick, you know what I'm saying, actually had recorded the raid on her Twitter account. So if you go to @GEOREBEKAH, you'll actually see it, where they come in, you know what I mean, pointing guns at her sons, and, you know, they confiscated her computers or whatever. But here's the interesting thing about her. She was actually the top leading software developer for Florida's coronavirus data portal, who actually was forced to resign in May after she had refused to alter the coronavirus numbers to make it look like the disease was not as infectious as it was. You know, remember around this time, this is when Governor Ron DeSantis or whatever, and you know, even with Trump backing them, was just trying to like open up the economy, keep the beaches open, despite that COVID-19 was running wild like a baby with no diapers. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, here we are months later, and she's actually getting her house raided. Now they said that Florida authorities said that the raid was because that there was a hack at the Florida Health Department, but she says that she hasn't had access for that for the past 6 months. So but she thinks that it was actually orchestrated by Governor Ron DeSantis. So I don't know. It could seem like from the outside looking in, it could go either way, because to be fair, if there was a hack at the health department and it actually, just because you didn't have access in the last 6 months, you're a data scientist, computer programmer, you might have done some hacking in your life. Still very possible, but at the same time, very much could have been just them trying to intimidate her or terrorize her. We'll see how this story unfolds. Green War and Graduation. This reporter of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So the Trump administration has actually rejected setting tougher standards on industrial soot emissions. Soot being, you ever drive behind like the back of you drive behind a truck, a giant truck or whatever, and you see all that black shit that they kicking out into the air, whatever, all of that black shit, that's like a lot of carbon and all of that, whatever, that contributes to a lot of carbon dioxide and all of that contributes to greenhouse gas and all of that, whatever. It's deadly pollutant, and it's actually been linked to an increased number of COVID-19 illnesses as well as other respiratory illnesses. So the rejection was actually made by the Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Andrew Wheeler, somebody who's actually been involved in like industry very much so. So he's definitely a conflict of interest in him even being in that position, thanks to Trump. But nevertheless, he made the decision despite what his scientists in the EPA were actually saying, which was, they were recommending that these standards be made tougher, and in doing so, it could save up to 34,000 lives a year. But shit, I guess for Trump, she's like, well, shoot, that's what are you talking about? That's not even 10% shoot, that's only a little over 10% of how many people done died from COVID. So maybe you don't think it's a problem. We'll see though. Green War and Graduation.